Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister and refusing to send her money even though she had good intentions? My wife Belle and I have a beautiful, almost 3-year-old daughter. Though her arrival was unexpected, I'm so thankful for her. My sister Cindy has never been fond of Belle. Her rational dislike of my wife has only exacerbated when she announced that she was pregnant. Belle was never good enough. Belle was irresponsible and obsessed with herself for working out during her pregnancy. She's a terrible mother for not quitting her job the moment she found out she was pregnant, etc. I've shut all of it down over the years, and I've got contact with her significantly. One thing my wife and I agreed to not do is talk to our daughter with that high-pitched baby voice many people use to talk to children. We talk to her as if she was a normal human being. We don't talk to her with that goo-goo-gaga voice. We never have and never will. We also let our daughter, to a reasonable extent, pick her own clothes. And since she's at the stage where she wants to be independent, we will try to encourage that as much as possible. My wife is half Korean and half Ethiopian, so often she will mix a few non-English words when she's talking to our daughter. Unfortunately, Cindy can't make rent and has been living with us for the past 2 weeks. Belle's idea: I wouldn't have let her stay in my house because of her continued disrespect of my wife. Cindy was, surprisingly, very kind towards my wife. It was very nice to see Cindy's change of heart, until she wasn't. Cindy started to make a big fuss about how my wife was talking to our daughter as if she was an adult, and how Belle was a cruel parent for teaching our daughter how to use chopsticks so young. The Edison chopsticks meant for children. My daughter was helping my wife cook. My wife let her hold the pot while she was draining the rice water, and my sister called my mom. She began to make threats of calling child services as my wife was a horrific child abuser. My mom, who hasn't seen my daughter in a year, got upset. I tried to get my sister to talk, but she was unwilling, so I kicked her out. Now the whole family is mad at us, claiming that Cindy had good intentions and that we should let her back. My wife is feeling very guilty with everything and wants to send my sister some money. Edit: a few people have had concerns over whether my daughter's hands were touching a hot pot. No, they were rinsing the rice before they cooked it, so the pot nor the water was hot. Now for the top comments. Not Dayhall. Your wife is a wonderful woman with a kind and forgiving heart. But Cindy, despite being given second chances, has flown her true colors without remorse. She's set in her ways/opinions and won't change. Perhaps the whole family can house Cindy rather than you and your family, since they seem so sympathetic to her. You and your wife did your part and made a solid effort to make it work. You don't owe Cindy anything. Cindy should focus her attention on self-sufficiency rather than how you and your wife raise your child. Which, by the way, how awesome your daughter is using chopsticks, learning second languages and cooking. She's got more life skills at the age of 3 than Cindy from the sounds of things. My wife has so much patience. It's insane how she kept up with this. There's probably so much that has happened while I was at work that my wife isn't telling me. Please, please, please do not send Cindy money. That will just assure her that she can say and do whatever she wants with no consequences. Your sister is a racist. Let's be real. And sexist by expecting pregnant women to quit their jobs. And uneducated for expecting them to stop exercising. Well, there is a point at which certain exercise is bad. Consult your doctor. Everybody's different. For most of the pregnancy, exercise is good. It helps your body stay healthy. And fun fact, endorphins are awesome. Say 10 over 10 fetuses, they love them. Not Dayhall. Your sister needs to learn boundaries. It's none of her business how you guys parent your kid unless there is mistreatment involved, which there isn't. Your daughter literally held a pot. There is no good intention in making child services threats on a loving mother. Thank you for stepping up for your wife. You'd be surprised of how many people don't stick up for their significant other. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out after finding her in mine in my husband's bedroom? I, female 26, lost my husband in an accident 2 months ago. It wasn't his fault. He wasn't even driving. He was going with a friend to visit their sick friend, and the journey was hours long. My husband's friend was driving late at night, and it resulted in a horrific accident. My husband was in the hospital for a week severely injured and passed away on Friday morning. I was an utter mess. I was and still am devastated and could not believe how fast days go by. My parents support me a lot. I was spending my days alone at my apartment. My parents told me they sent my sister, female 21, to stay with me and help around the apartment. I welcomed her and was glad she came. She'd occasionally invite her boyfriend to my apartment since she's there all the time. Her boyfriend started acting like it's their place by moving stuff, throwing away stuff. I talked to them about it. I also said I wouldn't let him stay the night anymore because I need some calm and quiet to be able to sleep. It usually stays up till 5 a.m. making noise. My sister didn't argue. However, yesterday I went to see a friend for a few hours, and when I got back, I didn't find my sister, thinking she went out. Suddenly, her boyfriend walks out of my bedroom, and I freaked out asking why he was there. My sister showed up asking why I got home so early. I loudly asked them why they were in mine and my husband's bedroom. Suddenly, my sister said they borrowed it for an hour to get some privacy, since I had a key and might have walked in and saw something. My apartment is a single-bedroom apartment. I was in shock. I checked the room and the bed looked like someone used it. I completely lost my temper yelling at her and her boyfriend. I kicked him out and me and my sister started arguing. She called me irrational, acting out of grief and taking my frustrations out on her. I told her to leave if she wasn't willing to respect mine and my husband's private place, and that she should have never walked in it. After that, I kicked her out. My mom came to see what was going on. She defended my sister and blamed her boyfriend, saying I had every right to kick him out, but my sister took the time and came to stay with me to support and help, and I was wrong to treat her like this, saying that's how kids are, and didn't know that it upset me this much. My dad agreed I overreacted and wanted me to talk things out with her, but I refused to do it. Not Dayhall. Oh my god, your sister and her boyfriend were having intercourse in the bed you shared with your recently deceased husband. There comes a point where help becomes a hindrance. Your sister has passed that point. I'm so sorry for your loss. Thank you. And you're right. I just never thought she'd do anything like that. To be honest, my mom said it was her boyfriend's suggestion after she talked to my sister about it. Either way, this is not acceptable to me. I appreciate the help and support, but the bedroom was a mess. The bed was a mess. I haven't washed the sheets ever since my husband's passing. They used to help me sleep at night because the smell was on them. It was incredibly noticeable. I can't explain it, but it definitely made me feel like he was there. But now I can't even look at the bed because of how angry I am. I doubt I'll be seeing my sister anytime soon after this. I'm so sorry. I would not find this forgivable either, if it were me. It's just so violating. Even without your recent trauma, it's gross and violating. Not Dayhall. Jesus. Opie, I am so sorry for your loss. Your sister has a complete and utter lack of sympathy and self-awareness, especially with a loss so recent. Being kind doesn't give you a free pass to being kind. That's not how it works. That's how kids are. No, they're not. And your sister's 21 years old, not a child. I wish you all the best and hope you have a support structure outside of your family. Even if she didn't have recent loss, it's still not okay to just go do it in someone's bed. Not Dayhall. Not Dayhall. This is the kind of help we all can do without. It makes me sick, just thinking about what they did. How inhuman, entitled, and out of touch do you have to be to do it in a grieving widow's bed? I couldn't bear to look at the people again if it were me. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for this. I'm so sorry for your loss. You deserve peace and quiet right now. Take it and block the sources of stress. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my grandparents I don't give a crap about what they want? My dad cheated on my mom with my aunt/mom's sister, and now they're married. It's been 2 years since the world crashed around my family. My mom and dad had been married for 20 years. I was in my final year of high school and had all that to deal with. My cousin Jay really struggled a lot with it. It was always just him and his mom. And no, he's not my half-sibling. And yes, I know for certain because he's biracial. And he was very close to my mom and our family. And now, while nothing has changed between him and my mom, the people he had in our family around him his whole life are never going to be in the same room again. I cut my dad and aunt off after the whole thing came out. They resisted and really tried to make their argument that they had done nothing to me. But what they did disgusts me, and I think they are both nasty people. My grandparents, dads, have not accepted that I am now estranged from their son. They have tried to push me to have a relationship with him again for almost a year now. I ignore it mostly. I have told them no as clear as possible, and after that, I just avoid or sidestep the conversation. This past weekend was my grandma's birthday, and while I dropped off a gift to her, they really laid on a guilt trip about not talking to my dad, and how it hurt their feelings, and they would be happy if I could forgive him and move forward as a family, etc. I told them my feelings had not changed. They told me to consider putting their feelings first, since they love us all, and they want their family back. I told them I didn't give a crap about their feelings or what they want. Their son is the reason all this happened, so they should be giving him crap for how this all worked out. They told me I was rude and disrespectful and plain mean to them, and it wasn't their fault what happened, and I should be more considerate of them. I feel like they pushed way too many lines that deserve to be told the truth. But do you all think I was an a-hole for what I said? Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. Why are their feelings more important than yours? When people push you, you reach a certain point where you have to say no more. You may have been harsh, but that's okay. Perhaps next time, if there is one, I hope you should ask them that. I suspect they'd have difficulty answering. I bet that they wouldn't have difficulty answering though. They will most likely pull the "we are your grandparents, so you should respect us and do things we want" card. Not a-hole. If they want their family back, they should ask their son why the family is gone. Imagine blaming the kid for their completely justified reaction to the bomb a parent exploded within their life. A great reminder that people of all ages can suck donkey. Not a-hole. They weren't listening and would have and possibly still will try again. Your feelings are valid and they can try and push what happened aside. I hope things get better for you. Not a-hole. They're correct. It wasn't their fault, but it's also not your fault. However, they are trying to make you responsible for fixing things right in order to make them happy, while dismissing your feelings. You told them multiple times, in no uncertain terms, how you felt, but they continued to push until you felt you had no choice but to be very blunt with them. You have done nothing wrong. I'm so sorry this happened to you. Good luck. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for moving out and not wanting to be a third parent / babysitter? For context, I'm 20 female. I'm due to finish my last year of uni in June. I have been doing classes and everything online since I moved back into my parents in April 2020. It's honestly been mentally and physically draining since my sister, 16 female, was diagnosed with a minor mental health disorder last year, and my conservative Asian parents have been freaking out. And instead of really helping her, they've been allowing her to do anything and everything. Because their logic is that if she only does things she wants is equal to she's cured. Don't worry, she has counseling and government-funded therapy. This is resulting into my sister never going to school and only playing video games in her room with food being brought up to her 3 times a day. And even if she swears and talks back to them, they just brush it off and condone everything that she does. As I am constantly home for classes and currently stressed out by finals, I am still expected to do most of the chores as well as taking care of a new puppy who needs constant attention. On top of this, my parents expect me to constantly check up on my sister, expecting me to drop everything whenever she needs something, whether this be something minor like a glass of water. And if I don't, they give me lectures on how my sister is the closest family I'll have after they're gone, and how awful of a sister I am. So I am unable to do any work, nor focus, as I'm basically a live-in on-call 24/7 maid. I suppose my parents thought when I moved back in due to the pandemic it was for good, but I am planning on moving out as soon as my exams are over, which they think is very selfish of me, as they will now be stuck with a lot of duties, and how I'm abandoning family. I plan to do further study, and I really want my independence and sanity back. Not sure if relevant, but when I was around my sister's age, I approached my parents about my mental health issues, and they basically told me to get over it. But I was fortunate to use my uni's therapy services to get by. Hence, I'm wondering whether I am an a-hole for moving out and possibly holding a grudge for how they treated me, instead of sucking it up and try to be more understandable about my sister's situation and my parents' inability to cope? Thanks. Not a-hole. Get out of that house. She's not your responsibility. Don't hold a grudge for your sake. But don't forget about how they treated you either. Not Dehal. By making your sister dependent, they're likely making her mental illness significantly worse. Maybe when you move out and they actually have to do all the work, they'll start to actually help your sister live a functional life. Moving out might not just be good for you, it could be good for your sister. Not Dehal. This dynamic is extremely unhealthy, and your parents are guilting you most likely as a tactic to maintain the parentified role they've given you. Your sister is plenty old enough to know what is healthy and productive in her life, but enjoys reaping the benefits of your parents' misunderstanding of her mental health issues and how to support her. You cannot solve these issues for her, and it's not your job to do so. Do not let your parents push the guilt of their failure onto you. They already have a pattern of favoritism toward your sister, and they clearly are not looking out for your best interests. Graduate and get out of there ASAP. You deserve your own freedom and autonomy. Edit. Thank you to everybody telling me I am not Nehal. I realize it's not my responsibility to take care of everything. My mom impulsively borrowed money behind my dad's back and decided to do a full-time online degree whilst working full-time. Meanwhile, my dad impulsively adopted a dog. I guess I just needed a little reassurance, as I do feel a bit guilty/ahal, considering it's normal for Asian children to move out only when they get married. But no worries, I'll be moving out in 41 days. Hopefully this will benefit my sister a little and help her take on some more responsibility and have a reality check. Relationship advice. My 27 female, husband 28 male admitted he only married me to make his sick dad, 57 male, happy. Looking back, I probably should have seen this coming. My dad and his are best friends. We've known each other our whole lives, but we only dated for 6 months before getting married. His dad was incredibly unwell at the time, so I should have made a connection. But I'd had a huge crush on my husband for the longest time, so I was on cloud 9 when he proposed. It's been 3 years, and this hasn't been the marriage I thought we would have. My husband has kept me at a distance our entire marriage. He worked our entire honeymoon, but kept arranging amazing activities for me to do alone. I thought I was doing it because he was apologetic that he had to work, but now I realize he was distracting me like a small child so I wouldn't question things, and realize he was making the choice to work. He doesn't include me in his life. I've never met the majority of his friends despite the fact that he used to meet up with them at least once a month, and it was his idea to keep our wedding very small. His family have a lot of friends and colleagues. They've never had a small wedding before, so everyone was shocked when he was adamant that he wanted to keep things to just family. I don't think he knows anything about me above surface level stuff, even though we've lived together for 3 years. I know most people who are reading this are probably thinking, just divorce him. And I would, if things weren't more complicated than that. I'm 6 months pregnant with our first child, and his dad's health is still fragile. I don't want to hurt either of our families or cause any stress for his dad, and a divorce would devastate everyone. I wish he never told me, but ever since my pregnancy, I have been a lot more argumentative, and my hormones have been all over the place. We've been arguing. Well, I rant, and he listens a lot. A few weeks ago, in the middle of the argument, he admitted he only married me because he knew it would make his dad happy, and that his family had always been hinting that he should ask me out. I moved into a guest room, but that just made him unhappy, and he told me to move back into our room and he would stay in another room. Ever since, he seems to be trying to make more of an effort, and he claims he wants to work on things. I still love him, but I think I don't trust him anymore. I spend most of the day outside of the house and try to avoid him as much as possible, but he's suddenly always there. I can't talk about this to my family, so I've only told my best friend who already dislikes my husband. So her first suggestion was divorce, and her second was to enjoy watching him gravel and then divorce when he thinks things are great. Right now, I would prefer to avoid a divorce. I just can't do it to either of our families with everything else going on. I need advice on if this is something we can work on and if it is worth me giving him a chance. And if not, how do I minimize the damage and hurt a divorce will cause our families? Now for the top advice. I'm pregnant and his dad's health is still fragile, so I don't want to divorce him yet, but I don't know how to get past this either. If he genuinely wants to work on it and you want to work on it, then maybe you should enlist the help of a therapist and try marriage counseling. It also sounds like you could do with getting some space from your families. It's nuts if he mainly got married to make his dad happy. You were also both adults and seemed too interested in the approval and validation of your relatives. You need to do what is right for the both of you first, and not care so much what other people think. From what you write, it sounds like you don't want to get divorced, but also you don't want to move past it. You have to pick one. And to add to this comment, you shouldn't stay in an unhappy marriage just for the sake of your families. It's your life. Live it for you, not your family. So you both have made decisions so the families are happy. And look where that has gotten you. You're both in an unhappy marriage with a kid on the way who is going to be collateral damage. When is the last time you made a decision that makes you happy? I think you need to understand if you are happy in the marriage and if you think you want to attempt to create a deeper connection, an actual relationship, with your husband. Then you and he need to sit down and you have to ask him the same questions. Based on the answers to these questions, you'll know what direction to go in. Divorce or counseling to learn how to be in a relationship with each other. Also, for your information, generally, people aren't going to just up and die if you announce a divorce, so stop using his dad's fragile health as an excuse for making stupid decisions. While I agree 100% of your actual advice, I have to say, when is the last time you made a decision that makes you happy? She did say she was very happy to marry him initially. That's what's so heartbreaking. A divorce would devastate everyone. Everyone except you. It would liberate you. Do what suits you. Don't live your whole life for the benefit of people who do not appreciate you. The rest of them don't give a crap about you as an individual. So stop caring about them. Stop martyring yourself for a group of people who do not have your best interests at heart. This, studies of the elderly where they are asked the biggest regrets of their lives. One of the top 5 answers, sometimes number 1, is that they wish they had lived their life for themselves and not in a way to please others. OP, you are literally at a crossroads to live for yourself or others. Don't have that regret. Also, I really think your family and his will be okay with it when they learn the truth. Now for the next story. I feel like this is abusive, but I need feedback. I, 26 female, have been in a relationship with my boyfriend since 2012. We currently have an almost 1-year-old son together. My boyfriend most definitely has anger issues that he's either not willing to confront or believes is a completely normal response to whatever he flies off the handle about. He treats the men in his life with dignity and respect. However, the women in his life, myself included, cop the brunt of his aggression and scorn. For as long as I can remember, he was always on about, all I want is to be a parent. The meaning of my life is to be a dad. But since we had our son, the most he does is plays with him every so often, but most of the time treats him like he's just a hassle. Our son is the happiest child. Cheeky, very affectionate, etc., etc. But my partner is very hard with him. I'm not naive to the fact that the first year adjustment period after having a child is going to have difficult times. But I didn't think it'd be this difficult. I feel like a single parent 90% of the time. No exaggeration. We moved into our first home together, rental, in November, after living with his mother for the first 9 months of our son's life, and things have been horrible ever since. I do as much as I can at home, but it's hard with my son always with me. My partner works and I don't. I'm thankful that he works to support us, but he uses it as a bargain card to do nothing when he's with us. I feed our son, bathe him and put him to bed, all the while my partner sits on his phone or in front of the PlayStation. If he asks for anything, he's never polite about it, and if I say no, rarely, he uses a cutesy voice to try and win me over, which doesn't work. Hearing an adult male talk like a child turns my stomach. He's a total narcissist in the way that he believes the world revolves around him. I've gone almost 9 years in our relationship with very few occasions where he's thought of me and done a nice gesture for me just because he wanted to. Whereas I'm the type of person who'll see something while I'm out that I know he'd like, buy it and surprise him with it. I've covered every birthday, every Valentine's, every promotion at work, every significant event that I know normal people would typically celebrate, and honestly, I ask nothing in return. I just enjoy making people happy. The thing that's been concerning me the most as of late is how obsessed with intercourse he is. He always has been, but since I've been a full-time parent from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. most days, I'm freaking exhausted by the end of the night and have nothing left in me to even entertain fooling around. I've woken up multiple occasions where he's screwing me in my sleep. Not attempting to do me, actually doing me. When we do spend time together, I rarely receive a kiss or a cuddle. Instead, he's squeezing my boobs or trying to make out with me so it'll lead into intercourse. Why am I even writing any of this is because just a moment ago, he stormed off with our son to go to dinner at his sister's house after I said I wasn't feeling up for it. I got over a nasty bout of the stomach flu a couple of days ago and I'm still weak. If I wasn't, I would have gone to this dinner. He unplugged our television in the lounge room, threw the cable somewhere in the backyard and left the television itself on the floor. Practically everything in our house belongs to me, save for our bed and his laptop. This isn't the first time he's attempted to control me by taking away things that I'm using. He's hidden my phone before when he hasn't wanted me to go on it. He's hidden my shoes before when he hasn't wanted me to leave the house, etc, etc. Things like that. From my understanding, this is abusive, right? Emotional or mental abuse. I'm too exhausted to remember. Anyway, I don't want my son growing up witnessing any of this or having to be in the firing line of his dad's anger. He has been before. Refer back to his age, he's not even a year old yet. I've known for a long time that this relationship isn't going to lead anywhere, but chose to have a child with him anyway because my mother was dying, and I wanted her to be able to meet her first grandchild while she still could. She died when I was 4 months along, but my son is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm rambling, but again, what the hell do I do? He's spoken to a therapist a couple of times despite not thinking that he needed to, and things changed for a week or two, but quickly went back to how they were. I've heard talk about him being bipolar. His sister is too, clinically diagnosed, but he denies that he is. He is a former self-harmer, has attempted to end himself a few times, and used to use the threat of self-harm as a way to not make me leave him early in our relationship. I'm just stuck on where I'm at and where to go from here. Ultimately, I know that I deserve better, but I'm thinking more about my son. We both deserve better. Please help. Now for the top advice. You are in an abusive relationship. You need to get out as soon as possible. Please do look up domestic abuse resources in your area and make yourself and your children safe. Do not warn him that you are leaving. Pack things in secret. Make a secret plan with your friend or family to get out. Grab any important documents like birth certificates, passports. As soon as you are somewhere safe, get a lawyer and link up with the resources already listed in this thread. Get out of there. You need to get you and your kid out safely ASAP. I've woken up multiple occasions where he's screwing me in my sleep. Not attempting to do me, actually doing me. This is R. R. Nothing else. There's absolutely no excuse for that. Please get help. Reach out to a friend or family member to help you get out. Contact the police and contact a women's shelter. Anyone that can help. I'm very sorry you're in this situation. Get yourself to safety and take care of yourself. It's 1 a.m. where I am now, but I plan on getting in touch with my cousin and seeing if my son and I can crash with them for a few days until I can sort this out further. Thank you for your support. Sweetheart, this man is abusing you. He's violating you and psychologically and emotionally mistreating you. He has no right to force himself upon you without consent. He has no right to control you in the way he does. Please get out of this relationship. Is there somewhere you can go? A friend you can trust? Think of your child. Even if your husband isn't abusing him too. Yet, the emotional control will 100% come at some point soon. Do you really want your son to grow up thinking it's okay to force himself in women? That it's okay to control her every move and make her question whether she has a right to be upset about being violated and imprisoned. Now for the last story. Girlfriend, 22 female, laughed along with her friend at me, 21 male, when her friend insulted me. My girlfriend and I were FaceTiming while she was over at her friend's house for the night. We were saying goodnight and blowing kisses before hanging up, and her friend says, "You guys don't even like each other," since we were being a little awkward about it since her friend was in the room. I felt that it's not her position to make such a comment anyway, but I let it go. I said that if I'm overly affectionate, my girlfriend tends to feel suffocated and she doesn't like it, and that's what I explained to her friend to justify why I wasn't being all extra about saying goodnight. I also told her if I was allowed to be, I would love to be more affectionate. Her friend then says to me, maybe you should stop being so needy. Backstory is that I am a more clingy person because I really care about conveying affection in a relationship and then let it be known if it is not. So the actual issue, when her friend said that, she started laughing. And then my girlfriend joined her and started laughing, only presumably at me because the comment was made about me towards me. Lol. I started boiling because it just felt like a betrayal in front of her friend. I immediately hung up, and my girlfriend immediately called me back twice. Each time I picked up and asked what she wanted, and hung up when she was trying to say goodnight while still giggling about it. Yeah, it was a petty move in my behalf, but I was angry about several things. 1, her friend doesn't know where the line is, and was allowed to say that without a repercussion from my girlfriend. 2, my girlfriend also joins in the banter with her while I'm sitting there obviously offended. And 3, when she called back and tried to say goodnight the 2 times I hung up, she was still giggling and didn't even realize that comments and the laughing stung. She called back a 3rd time, and I didn't hang up this time. Instead, I raised my voice a little and said, "Why do you keep calling me back and just laughing at me?" And then she hung up on me. Her friend DM'd me on Instagram and apologized, to which I said that I forgive her and that she is okay. I told her friend that I actually appreciate how real she is and how she saves her words and gets to the point, and that I'm upset about my girlfriend joining in and laughing at me and my flaw, and not so much that she was laughing with her friend. Now, I'm fuming. Sure, my attitude was petty, and sure I didn't have to raise my voice. Yet, I feel that she did next to nothing to rectify the situation. Sure, she called 3 times, but what good is that when she doesn't apologize and still giggling each time? This is on top of a lot of other issues, so my feelings may seem excessive, but I'm just becoming fed up overall. Now I feel like my actions were the ones that were wrong here because of the fact that my girlfriend hung up on me and ignored my text after explaining why I was pissed. I guess this is half a vent post, but I'm also curious to see you guys' reaction to this. Edit: we are in a long-distance relationship at the moment. I am only needy with her ever since the long distance because she's really bad with communicating and texting and also interpreting my emotions via text/phone. I notice a lot of you are indeed calling me needy and insecure, and you would be right with both labels to some extent, but it stems from her behavior more so than my own need. We have life things to deal with and choices to make, so there is pressure in figuring things out and not just being up in the air about things. Now for the top advice. It sounds like there is other stuff going on that needs to be truly sat with and felt. This seems like maybe the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. We're doing a long-distance thing right now because she has a busy last semester, and it doesn't sit right with me because I like proximity, and it's been rocky because I have been complaining and naggy. But we ultimately came to a compromise, and I'm respecting her wishes. This is sort of the tip of the iceberg, yeah. Well, it is the tip of the iceberg. Take some time to sit with your feelings and what is truly bothering you. It will make communication easier. I get mad very easily, but I also cool off like insanely fast. I always want to communicate, but my girlfriend finds it as nagging and annoying, so I'm always afraid to talk things out because it means risking a fight or her getting upset and ignoring me. And I don't like that because it makes both of us feel bad. Yet, I know communication is the most important thing in a relationship. She has gotten way better at hearing me out, and I love her for that. And I admit it gets to be a handful dealing with my emotions. But still, I don't mind sitting with my feelings, but I don't think a talk is going to happen here without an issue. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my parents' rent money? I turned 18 about a month ago. The day after my birthday, my parents sat me down and told me they want me to pay rent while I lived at home. I was a little confused. I have 3 older siblings, and the deal for them was that they could live at home for free while they were studying, even when they were several years older than I am. Now, I can only work weekends because of college, so I make about 500 euros a month. And after paying for tuition, health insurance, mandatory, and my phone bill, I have about 300 euros left, most of which I try to save. So I ask my parents how much they want. 100 a month? Maybe 200. But no. They want me to pay market value to rent a room, which is in the city where I live about 500 euros. Now, I think this is ridiculous for two reasons. One, my parents' rent for the entire house is $600 a month. I would have understood asking for 1/3 of that, but for me to pay 84% of that alone seems excessive. And two, none of my siblings paid rent, even if they were older or had better paying jobs. Not to mention that my parents didn't give me any warning. If I had known beforehand, I'd have looked for a room when college started. I explained that I have to make almost $800 a month just to be able to pay for everything, and even more if I want to save anything for unexpected expenses, /school books, /actually moving out, which would be really hard to do while going to college full-time and commuting back and forth. They just told me to take out some student loans. I told them I'm not okay with paying that much, and that I would look to move out as soon as possible so I wouldn't be a financial burden to them. I think I found a room, cheaper than my parents offered, and will probably move out in a week or two if everything goes right. But I haven't paid this month's rent. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Some people pointed out that my parents are legally obliged to help pay for my living /college expenses. I'll look into it. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. Move out, get some space, and move on with your life. I'm sorry they are treating you this way. It sounds like you're the scapegoat. I hardly get to rent thing for your kids, especially if they are in school. Then to come up with an absurd number like 84%. If mom and dad want that, they'll have to move to the smallest bedroom and get the rest of the house. Not stay home. If I was ever in the situation of having kids around the age of 18, I would charge rent. If they aren't full-time studying, but I'll put it in a savings account in secret and give it to them when they move out. Info, did they give you the reason for why you have to pay rent but your siblings didn't? Seems super unfair. They didn't, though I've never been the favorite at home. My theory is that they don't approve of the degree I want to pursue and therefore don't want to help. But I don't know. Someone else pointed out that they might have money trouble, but if they do, I'm not sympathetic. They both have high-paying jobs and go on expensive vacations often, and my dad just bought a new car. Not stay home. Sounds like your parents are way behind on rent and are looking for an easy way out, like having you pay 84% of the rent. How come a room in your city is $500, but your parents' entire apartment is only $100 more? Just curious. They can't just raise the rent much while someone is living there. My parents moved in a while ago, so they pay $600. Our neighbors pay $750. Plus, student housing is just expensive. I'm not sure why. May I ask in which country you and your family live? The Netherlands. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex have a relationship with his child? I know the title is awful, but I'm trying to be quick and couldn't think how better to phrase it. When I was 18, I was in a relationship that was, in hindsight, full of red flags. The biggest being he was 29. We split after 4 months because he cheated and gave me an STI. Then during treatment for the STI, I found out I was pregnant. I personally am against terminating, so I wanted to keep the baby. I told him and he made it clear he didn't have to be involved. And my father, a lawyer, drafted a contract that we both signed basically giving up his rights to the child. The whole time, he was vehemently against me having the baby. I'd made multiple MySpace videos going on about how I shouldn't be able to keep the baby without his permission, and I was a witch, and so on. Once the contract was signed, I basically never heard from him again until this year. He found out recently that he was infertile, and now he and his wife of 10 years want to build a relationship with my son. He isn't allowed to contact my son without permission, and I have refused. My son adores my husband, and it will devastate him to find out that his real dad didn't want him. Am I the a-hole for not letting my ex have a relationship with his son? All I can think about is the hateful things he said about my son and I before my son was born. And now the only reason he's reached out is that he can't have other children. I don't think I'm the a-hole, but I feel really conflicted. Edited to add, my son is almost 15. He does know that my husband isn't his dad, and we went through therapy for it when we told him at 11. But he very much considers my husband to be his dad and our daughter to be his sister, and hasn't shown any interest in finding out about his biological father. Obviously, if he wants to know, I won't lie to him. But right now, he is happy with his family as it is, and hasn't shown any interest in hearing about my ex.
not stay home. Though if you have not told your son that stepdad isn't his real dad, that won't end well in the long run. But speaking of your ex, wow, is that karma or what? Infertile. Probably from untreated STIs. Not stay home. You signed away his rights and your son has a good relationship with your husband. If he is infertile, he can always adopt. This, he signed away his rights. He doesn't get to say he has a child. Did he forget that he signed the papers? Not stay home. He doesn't get to decide to try and be a dad because he found out he's infertile 10 years after all the horrible crap he said. He made his bed, and now he needs to lay in it. I hope you kept the videos just in case he tries anything sneaky in the future. Edit: being a sperm donor doesn't give him the father/dad title. Not stay home. Are you able to say, if your son ever asks, you'll put him in touch? Would that work? Yeah, that's basically what I said to him. And he got angry that I wouldn't let him fly halfway across the country in a pandemic and let him meet my son right now. Seriously, when he messaged 2 weeks ago, he was talking about booking flights for the first weekend of Feb. And I was like, WTF? Yikes. Well, stick to your guns. Your boy's happy, and that's a gift you gave him. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for paying my niece $50 for the birthday cake she made for my son's birthday? My 16-year-old niece Judy is into bakery. She bakes plenty of sweets and cakes. Due to my brother and his wife's financial situation, Judy got dropped out of cooking academy. She was heartbroken over this, especially because she was on top of her class. She was determined to go back to cooking academy, so she started selling stuff she bakes online to be able to afford her classes. Her parents thought cooking academy was a distraction from school and disapproved of it though, so they started demanding she bakes for neighbors and friends for free. My son's 4th birthday was last week. I asked Judy if she could bake a cake for $50. She agreed, but my brother said no chance, and swore up and down that she will do it for free. Judy said if she keeps working for free, she'll no longer be able to afford the academy, not to mention the ingredients. I said I have no issue paying, but my brother said we're family and the cake was for free. This didn't sit right with me, so I went behind my brother and his wife's back and gave Judy the $50 before they left the party. Well, they found out and yelled at Judy for accepting the money. Then my brother called saying I shouldn't have paid her, but I said she deserves the money for her efforts. But he went on about how unacceptable it is for family to pay for favors, and said that Judy got grounded for acting so entitled. I had an argument with him and told him to stop the punishment, but he said we wouldn't be dealing with us if I didn't go behind his back and gave Judy the money in the first place. I hung up and met up with my family to discuss this, and they all agreed that I should never have sneaked my niece the money and disrespecting her parents' wishes. They told me that I don't even get to speak ill of my brother because he was just trying to be generous with me and was being a real family. I don't know. I feel I might be the a-hole for this. Am I? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. People think that just because you're family, you don't deserve to be paid for your time and effort and skill. You did the right thing. She deserved that $50. Except her parents are making the kid work for free for everyone. I hope he might be able to better help by telling the niece she'll hold the money for her until she's old enough to open her own bank account. Or possibly gift the academy tuition, directly paid to the academy. I agree with this, but $50 and hold tuition is a big difference money-wise. Not an OP to pay the whole thing, but maybe she could help set up a small business for her so she can widen her clientele. Not stay home. Wow. Not stay home. Very much not stay home. Your brother is calling poor Judy entitled when they expect her to spend her time, effort, skills, and probably money on ingredients, and give her goods away for free? That's entitled. They want a puppet to do their bidding and make them look good. They are abusing their daughter's passion for the sake of their own image, and then proceed to punish her when she actually shows any kind of success for it. Is there any way that you could help Judy Network to find more people to sell goods to, so she can make money for Cooking Academy? Judy needs a website and a new place to live. Not stay home. Why do people not understand that just because a family member has skill, it doesn't mean they should do stuff for free? Thank you for at least trying to help your niece and trying to pay for her time. Her parents are shocking. Not day home. Your brother is teaching his daughter a horrible lesson. That her time and skill is not worth anything. People want to constantly preach you do for family, but there is a line between being generous and taking advantage of someone. You are completely in the right to pay your niece not only for ingredients, but also her time. Your niece is going to hopefully learn quick that you don't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother she will not see her grandchild? I, 33 female, recently found out I am expecting. My husband and I are delighted, and everybody's delighted for us. This will be our first child and my mother's 64 female third grandchild, as sister 31 female has 2 kids. When we announced we were expecting, my mother decided she had to take charge, giving me names, telling me that she should take care of the babies, I wouldn't know what I was doing, etc. Now, I am very low contact with mother. I actually moved away from living in close proximity with her due to my dislike towards her. Without boring you all with detail, my upbringing was not abusive on the physical side. However, I was emotionally drained, and I had such relief the moment I moved out of her house. I won't get into the history, but my sister got everything her way. Could freeload whilst I had to be working from age 16. Pay my own way by giving up 60% of my wage. I had to get a full-time job whilst continuing my education, funding everything myself. I do not resent my sister for this, and we have a fantastic relationship. The rest of my family did not talk to my mother, with my sister the only one who remains in contact. Even then, my sister will consistently complain to me about her, to the stage now where her kids will not be with my mother unsupervised. With my mother, it is her way or no way, and will give you the silent treatment until she gets her way. Even my nephews joke about the way my mother is. The times she reaches out to me, it's when she needs money. As she is my mother, I was previously supporting her, and as it stands, she owes me £47,000 over a 5-year period. My in-laws are moving closer to us for the birth of their first grandchild, and I want them to be super involved. My mother-in-law is more of a mother to me than my own. 2 days ago, a post on Facebook came out which made me react extremely fast. A young girl at her work, care home, had passed an NVQ. My mother posted that she was extremely proud and Stacy's more of a daughter to me than my eldest. I'll admit, I saw red, and I told her until she could accept me for who I am, I will not be speaking to her again. To which she responded that I had been a disappointment all her life, and she asked if the unborn child is even my husband's, as she knows I secretly work in prostitution. I don't. But again, I am not telling her my job title nor how much money I make. I was livid and told her she would never see her grandchild or me again. She's been blowing me up, calling me an a-hole, and having her friends also contact me, claiming how cruel I am and what a horrible thing for a daughter to do. I don't think I'm the a-hole here, but I'm wondering, what do you all think? Not the a-hole, and you know it. She's a manipulative narcissist. It will never get better unless she seeks serious mental health help. No contact is the only way I can see at the moment. I was very low contact before due to her ways. It was some comments from my own friends that made me post, claiming I may be using my future child as a way to punish her. I had to trim the comments my friends made about it from the original post as it was above the character count. Your friends need to keep their opinions to themselves. They're not the ones who have to put up with this treatment. Not they home. Not they home. She herself said you're not really her daughter, so why should you consider her a mother? Excuse my language, but ditch that witch for good, and live a happy life without the nasty influence of that person. Don't let your child get poisoned by her or her friends. Protect yourself and your family and stay strong. Not stay home. Your mom sounds like a trash fire, and if you do not mind unsolicited advice from a stranger and parent, it all boils down to this one question. Will this person's presence be a positive influence in my child's life? If the answer is no, what you did is not just your right, but your responsibility as a parent. Block her and her flying monkeys not just until she asks for another chance, but until she proves by her actions that she deserves one. If that is forever, she only has herself to blame. Not stay home. It's time to cut contact completely. Block her from your phone and all your social media. Do not let her inside your home if she comes by. Don't even answer the door. She's highly toxic. Inform your sister of your new rules. Congratulations on your pregnancy. Please remember that it's not good for your health or your baby's health to be overly stressed, so you'll have to work on eliminating your mom from your mind as much as you can. My mom was toxic too, and I wish you only the best. Unfortunately, blocking her isn't an option I can take. 2 years ago, my sister was diagnosed with a mental disability, which means I still need to protect her. And I don't want my mother using my sister as a point of contact and putting unnecessary pressure on my sister.
Am I the a-hole for being mad at my parents that they got my older brother a car for his 18th birthday and not on mine, and then causing the whole family to be up in arms about it till they came through? Okay, I know the title sounds like I'm spoiled, but hear me out. My brother 20 got a car for his 18th birthday. Not a new car or anything. It was a 20-year-old Lexus that was in pretty good shape. And he rubbed it in my face for the rest of the time he was in senior year of high school. Compared with my brother, I get just as good of grades as he does. Better in some cases even. I worked my hardest in the hope of fairness, and I even did some volunteering cleaning up garbage in my local area. Then my 18th birthday came and went a few weeks ago, and the only thing I wanted, the only thing I was hoping for, was a car. I wasn't expecting something like a new car or a sporty car, just something reliable like my brother got. The party wasn't even anything like my brother's 18th. For his 18th, my mom baked the cake herself. It was a delicious layered chocolate pudding cake, while I got a sheet cake from the supermarket. For his, they got a DJ. For mine, it was my dad's old boombox with a couple of mixed CDs. We went through the whole party, and I figured my parents might have just been waiting to spring a surprise gift on me, but that didn't happen. I asked them as things were wrapping up why there was no car when my brother got one. And they said that they felt like he'd worked harder for it. I asked what he did that I didn't do, because I did all of that and more. My grandma was nearby and heard everything, and then she asked them why as well. She ended up lecturing my parents that she was very, very, very disappointed in them for showing favoritism. Then she proceeded to announce to everyone still there that my parents thought it's fine to get their firstborn son a car and a DJ, but not their second. And then she even pointed out how much harder my parents tried for my brother's 18th birthday than they had for mine. My uncle was the first to stand up and say something, then everyone else who had not left yet. I ended up just walking away and going to my room to sit and think. I got a few I'm sorry calls from relatives, and my grandparents convinced me to go out with them for the evening. But when I got back, my parents were pissed and told me I'd shamed them to the whole family. I just walked past them because I didn't want to fight. The next few weeks went by with a silent treatment between us. But then a few days ago, my parents suddenly surprised me with a white 98 Subaru Legacy that runs great. They practically threw the keys and the title in an envelope at me and said to have fun. I got the car and they're paying for insurance for the next 6 months like they did for my brother. I know a car isn't a really right, but a privilege, so I feel like I've essentially blackmailed my parents into getting me one. Am I the a-hole for how all this played out? Edit. I would like to clarify a few things. My parents make pretty good money and also don't go out of their way to live lavishly by choice. They've always been moderate in everything they buy or do. Though if anything is stretching their finances, it's my brother's college tuition. He got a partial scholarship and my parents are paying the rest. I don't and never intended to ask for the same treatment than that. I want to work and pay my own student loans. Now that I have the car, I'm already looking into getting a part-time job. This also isn't a gender thing as I'm male like my brother. The bill of sale for the car I got says my parents paid $1,600 for it, while my brother's car cost them about $3,000+ if I remember. But I don't see it as a money issue. I actually really loved a Subaru and told my parents so, though they did not share my enthusiasm. I also did try to talk about a car with my parents a few times last year, but they always dodged the conversations about the topic. I figured if I talked about it too much, it'd ruin it, and so I stopped. I would have felt like a brat to keep talking about getting an imaginary car, so I learned to just stay silent and hope. I can't go stay with my grandparents because they live in a one-bedroom condo. There isn't enough room for other people. After all their kids grew up, my grandparents decided to downsize to make their eventual retirement easier. Also, my grandparents know all of the details already, and they tell me that I didn't do anything wrong, and were already planning on confronting my parents quietly over the car issue. But they took the chance to take care of the matter when they heard me asking my parents about it. As for my brother's 18th birthday party, it was held in 2020 during basically the height of the pandemic. Honestly, we shouldn't have had a big party like that at a time, but my parents insisted. As for my brother himself, he barely speaks to me, even before I left for college. He didn't show up at my 18th birthday party, and I figured that's just because he's busy with college and he's not even in the same state as us anymore. Honestly, I haven't seen or heard from him since Christmas, and even then, the most I got out of him was a mild greeting. I did thank my parents for the car. Enthusiastically thanked them even, but they've barely said a word to me after giving me the Subaru. And when I thanked my parents, they brushed me off and just went inside. It kind of gave off the vibe that they were letting a brat play with this new toy, which was pretty upsetting and one of the reasons I made this post. Added to, there was one more thing I forgot to say. I was really hoping to get the car because I literally couldn't get a part-time job without one. We don't live in the city and we're 10 miles from the nearest public bus stop. I've always had to get rides to go anywhere. Now that I have the car, I intended to look for a part-time after-school job as soon as I can. Now for the top comments. Can we give it up for your grandma? She's awesome. I would have been bummed out too if my siblings received a car and I didn't. Cars are expensive. Did your parents explain why you weren't initially getting a car and why no effort was put into your birthday? Not day haul, by the way. My siblings all got their first cars bought for them and I paid for my own. Always bummed me out, but it is what it is. And I felt like it was more important to me because I'd earned that car and paid for it with my own money. However, it does suck to feel like they were favored over me, so I get how Opie feels. Same here. Middle child, brother got a car bought for him. Sister got a car bought for her, which was quite a nice car, and she decided she didn't like it, so they bought her another one and kept the one she didn't like for dad. I paid for my own, about half the price of either of their initial cars. I love that car though, ran like a dream. Not day home. The way they got called out by the whole family is hilarious. They're mad they got caught. Good on you, Opie. You just know the parents were ready to revise history and downplay all of Opie's accomplishments, but Grandma didn't let them. Go, Grandma. Opie, your parents were showing obvious favoritism. This isn't Cinderella. They got named and shamed in front of the whole family as they deserve. It's so satisfying to see how the rest of the family stepped in to set things straight. Please don't let this shake your confidence in yourself. You worked hard, and even if your parents refuse to see it, you will meet so many people in your life that will love, appreciate, and respect the effort you put in. Be kind to yourself, Opie. You are not a hole. Not stay home. Golden child BS/favoritism should not be condoned. Good for you that your family stood up for you and you eventually got a car. The manner of which isn't pleasant, but it was worth sticking to your guns. If I was Opie, I'd start staying closer to grandma and uncle instead of these dog crap parents. What pathetic parents, lol, have to be called out by family to just do the basics of treating their kids fairly and decently. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my stepdad it's not my job to be a good influence for his kids? This is the dumbest argument I've ever had with adults. I'm 16 female, the steps are 14 female, 10 male, and 9 female. My mom and their dad have been dating a little over a year and are engaged. We just all moved into a new place together because the parents want to blend the families, and no one but them are happy about it. The steps and I made an agreement before they moved in that we all just leave each other alone, because none of us want a new family. But if they need an emergency lift or help with something when the parents aren't around, that's fine. The AITA issue started because I'm a serious athlete, so my lifestyle has to be pretty healthy. I worked out a lot, did I meal prep most of my own food to make sure I keep up with my nutrition plan. The step family have a very different way of doing things, and that's causing some friction. I don't care what shape or size they are, just to throw that in there. It's none of my business. But stepdad has started using me as an object lesson to the kids. Opie always eats really healthy, we should probably all be doing that. And maybe Opie could give us some pointers and we could do a family gym night. That kind of thing. It's really upsetting the 14-year-old especially, I think, because she's kind of sensitive about her size, and having me around isn't helping with that already. Over the weekend, I was making a shopping list for meal prep for the week when stepdad brings the 14-year-old in and says, "Hey Opie, stepsis would like to try your meal plan out. Can you walk her through it?" This is a dumbass getaway. My diet won't work for her because I spend a lot of extra calories a day most days. And I'm not a nutritionist to figure out what she needs. But also, she looks like she wants to die on the spot. So I say, "Stepsis, do you really want to do this?" She says no. So I tell her dad that he probably needs to just back off because this is really sucky for everyone. He says, "I just think her seeing how you do things would be a good influence." And I'm like, "I'm not here to be a good influence on your kids. That's your job." So now I'm in trouble for being disrespectful, and we had to have this big family meeting about all getting along and helping each other. And I got in more trouble for telling them, that's rich, because they didn't care what any of us thought about anything when they were making decisions. But I don't really think any of this is even helpful. It would be different if the other kids want to get fit. It's still not a job for me, but I could try to do a support. Not stay home. It's stepdad's job to model healthy eating and exercise to his kids. Instead, he decided to body shame a teenage girl by comparing the two of you. Opie is standing up for her stepsister and being a more supportive family member than her own father is being. She's doing family blending better than dad is. Harping kids about their weight is never going to help. It is a one-way ticket to an eating disorder and bad body image. Opie's right. If he wants his kids to start eating better, he needs to be cooking healthy meals for everyone. Not stay home. You ask her about what she wanted, something your stepdad clearly needs to work on. You are being a good role model, whether he wants to see it or not, by showing the kids respect and that their voices are heard. Keep it up. Opie, you are not day hall and already a role model, and it seems like you've got your stepsister's back even though you didn't sign up for that. I graduate in May with a degree in nutrition, and what stepdad was suggesting is literally the opposite of what his daughter needs from a nutrition standpoint, unless she's actually getting the same amount of intense physical activity. And even then, the portions would have to be adjusted to fit her particular needs. Sports nutrition is entirely different from lifestyle nutrition, and the proportion of protein and other nutrients can be very excessive, and actually unhealthy for someone not getting the adequate amount of physical activity to utilize the exact nutrients. While stepdad's intentions may be good, he definitely needs to take a step back before it actually causes physical harm. That's what I thought. My diet is set up and checked regularly by a sports nutritionist, and I only know what I need for me and what my dad does for powerlifting. Even he tells people to train with him to see a professional for nutrition, because DIY can be dangerous when you need to cut a lot. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my mother-in-law spend the night in my bedroom and lock the door? Context. My husband, male 34, and I, female 26, got married 9 months ago. We live in a different town from his parents, and his mom visited us unexpectedly on Friday. Now, to give some context about my mother-in-law, she is okay-ish but has no respect for her son's privacy and, by extension, mine. When it was time to go to bed, mother-in-law requested that we let her sleep in the bedroom, on the master bed. Not just that, but lock the door as well because she explained she can't feel comfortable enough to sleep without locking the door. I found this bizarre, but I politely declined and suggested other options like the guest room, couch, and air mattress. But no, she turned around and presented these options to me. My husband agreed, but I said no, and this initiated an argument between her and I. During the argument, I pointed out how I didn't want to be kept out of my room and away from my stuff, but she lashed out at my husband saying, "Don't you just stand there? Say something." My husband told me to let her, it's just one night, but I told her those were all the options I had for her, and if she didn't like them, then I could book her in a hotel. She took it as in I was kicking her out and started crying, which made my husband upset. She left at 12 a.m. and my husband blew up saying I disrespected his mom who was a guest at our house and treated her poorly. He then reminded me it's our bedroom, not just mine, and I acted horribly to her, causing her to go stay at a hotel in the middle of the night. He went to book a room in the same hotel as her and turned his phone off. The next day, she went home and told the family, who berated me, calling my behavior towards mother-in-law abhorrent and loathsome. Now my husband is complaining about how I keep trying to ruin his relationship with his family and push them away. But I want to know if I was really the a-hole. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. Girl, I would get a divorce ASAP. These kinds of relationships never last for a long time. He is not able to see the disrespect his mother is giving both of you guys. Run! Edit. Never thought my first most liked comment on Reddit would be an advice to get divorced. I wanted to say this but didn't. Glad someone did though. I mean, I just told her what I would do. She probably want to lock the room so she can snoop around. See, that's exactly what I thought too. LMAO. She probably did room checks on husband when he lived with her, and she's dying for the snooping fix. It's either that or she's such a control freak that this is her way of marking her territory. She needs to feel important so badly, and the only way she feels that can happen is if she stomps all over her son's new wife's boundaries, as in lifts her leg on both physical and emotional boundaries. She probably wants to snoop too, but I think the former is probably the main issue. Not stay home. My husband blew up saying I disrespected his mom who was a guest at our house. That she can use the guest room. She clearly had ulterior motives here. There is every chance she planned to snoop. Yeah, I have important and highly personal stuff that I keep in my bedroom. Not stay home. It's creepy that she wants to sleep in a room you and her husband, her son, share. Especially with that insane amount of pushback she was giving, and looking at her son to step in only makes this worse than it needs to be. Husband is acting like a mama's boy and needs to see his mom is totally in the wrong. I'm a mama's boy, but this guy must be a whipped mama's boy. Only time I've let my mom or parents sleep in the master bed was when my wife and I lived in home/apartments that were one bedroom and when visiting us. We didn't feel it was fair to them to have to sleep on an uncomfortable couch or an air mattress. But we insisted, not them demanding to sleep there. This lady definitely wanted to snoop. And her husband? Hell, the whole family needs a reality check. Not stay home. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I hope their decision haunts them in death? My twin and I are the oldest of 5 siblings, all in our 20s. Our parents have always called me the good son, and have always looked out for my siblings. This includes my twin. My twin is the kind of person who can't hold a job, but it's never his fault. Despite constantly calling out and faking illness, he always takes but never gives back. You get the picture. But we always just brushed it off as his family. I, however, stopped with the enabling behavior. Recently, I was discussing my parents' wills with them. My twin and I don't make that much, but we get by. Our other siblings make okay to decent money. My parents told me that they intended to leave the house and a good amount of money to my twin. The rest of us would get equal amounts of everything else. I asked them why they would give so much to the kid who has done nothing but leech off them, and never helped when they needed it, despite talking about how he would any other day, but conveniently not the day they ask him. They shrug it off with, he's our kid, and we know you can't carry him forever with how he's acting, so we might as well give him a safety net. I tried to protest, saying that their final gesture was basically further enabling him. I myself have stopped defending this guy. He is barely hanging by a thread, and he needs to learn how to make it on his own. I think this information would just make him smug and complacent, but my parents won't see it my way. I blew up at them, saying that they'd better hope this decision doesn't haunt them in death. Especially because my sister just finished her chemo and is still paying off her medical debt. The amount she and the rest of us being left would cover some of it, but still leave a bit for her to pay off herself. If anyone deserved to have a house and that much money, it's her. My parents later told my other brother their side of what happened, and he thinks that although twins sucks, it's ultimately mom and dad's money and house, so it's their choice. I think my frustration at the situation is justified, but I probably should have calmly explained it to my parents. Am I the a-hole for that outburst? Now for the top comments. I think your parents are pretty awful for worrying about the financial stability of a healthy moocher than they are about a child struggling to beat cancer. It is their money and they can do anything they want with it. But they look/sound horrible. As long as you are arguing that your sister should get more due to her vulnerability and not to increase your own inheritance, not the a-hole. Maybe you and your other siblings can donate your portions or part of your portions to her in order to help if/when the time comes. Not the a-hole. I personally hate when parents play favorites in wills. It sets up terrible relationships after the last parent passes. I hope they reconsider. Yes, especially when it involves rewarding the slacker offspring. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but remember this conversation when they need help in their old age. Really good point. I just hope the inheritance stuff doesn't extend to how they currently treat the daughter fighting cancer. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out of my car and telling her to never call me for a ride? A little backstory. I, 24 male, have a car rock. It used to be my grandfather's, and he would always have it in his car as a lucky totem, and had it for about 30 years, according to my mom, but he passed away when I was around 5. I don't have much to remember him besides a few pictures of us, his ring, a knife, and his rock. When I turned 18, my mom gave me the knife, ring, and rock because my grandfather wanted me to receive these on my 18th birthday. I keep his knife in my room, wear the ring every day, and in the past 6 years I've had kept that rock in my car too and kept it as a lucky totem as well. Sometimes when I drive, I'll have the rock in my hand and just rub my thumb over and it kind of gives me peace of mind. I don't really know how to explain it in words, I guess. So on to the story. This happened last night. My friend Jane, 26 female, car is currently in the shop for repairs of an accident. She got rear-ended and it messed up her whole back end. So the past week, she has either been Ubering or asking friends to pick her up when her shift is done, and that's around 7:30 p.m. Her work is about 30 minutes away from me and she lives about 10 minutes from me. So last night, she called me at 7 and asked me if I could pick her up, and so I said sure, no big deal. So I picked her up and everything was fine, until I picked up my rock and started rubbing it. Jane asked what was in my hand. I showed it to her and said, "This is my lucky rock. I sometimes rub it whenever I drive." She asked to hold it and I gave it to her. She told me that the rock is stupid, and before I could say anything back, she threw it out the window. I screamed, "What the hell? Why did you do that?" Jane said, "Rocks are stupid and lucky items don't work." At this point, I'm probably 5 minutes away from her house, so I pulled over in a grocery store lot and asked her to get out. Jane asked why I was making a big deal about, so I told her the meaning behind the rock. And finally, I said, "Until you find that rock and give it back to me, never call me for a ride, and you're not allowed in my car again." She ended up getting out of my car, and I drove to the vicinity where she threw it at, and I spent about 2 hours trying to find it. During those 2 hours, friends from our group called me asking what happened, and I explained my side. Most of the group knew the significance of the rock because I've given them rides before and they asked about it. Those ones are on my side, but the last few are calling me the a-hole because I left a woman alone to walk home in the dark. I do feel guilty for kicking her out, and I feel like I could have handled the situation better. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for kicking my friend out of my car and banning her from entering my car over a rock? Edit. I will update if I do or don't find a rock. Thank you everyone for the kind words. It really means a lot. I haven't found it yet, but I'm getting a group together to help me search for it Friday. A few people have asked for updates, so I'll probably give a more detailed one on Saturday or Sunday. Now for the top comments. I hope you find your rock. It costs $0 to respect someone and their property, and she couldn't even do that for a friend that went out of their way to help her. Not the a-hole. I didn't find it last night, but I'm going back out today when the sun is out, so hopefully I can find it. This might be silly, but you should try calling your local police station. Not 911, but the actual station. And asking them if they have any canines who need some extra training or something, and then tell them your story and say you're hoping they'll be able to sniff off the rock. They might dismiss you and the story as silly, but if framed as extra training, they might go for it since the rock would be coated in your scent and oils as would the surrounding rocks from your initial search, but the main rock should have the strongest scent to it. Not the a-hole. Who asks for something for the sole purpose of disposing it like that? You weren't doing her a favor. She can keep her opinions to herself for 30 minutes. I would expect an apology before speaking to her again, and no more rides until that rock is found. She tried calling me today a few times to apologize, but I've been ignoring all her calls. I probably wouldn't return them. She doesn't seem like a very good friend. Probably for the best she showed her true colors, even if what she did was absolutely disgusting. Yeah, I don't plan on calling her back, and I think this will end our friendship. Only thing that might salvage this is if she finds that rock. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not considering my brother-in-law, my former school bully, family? I, 31 female, currently have a sister-in-law, 31 female, who isn't speaking to me or any other members of my family because she's angry that I do not consider her husband, 31 male, family. Background. Future brother-in-law and I started school together in 6th grade. He and his best friend bullied me and my friends relentlessly. During that year, I had the misfortune of having every class with them, so it was a constant occurrence. I would go home and cry most days, and going to school was misery. During high school, I only had one class with brother-in-law, so we had almost no contact and never spoke to each other those 4 years, and I thought after graduation I would never see him again. Oh, how wrong I was. Long story short, after high school I met my husband, now 30 male, who is bully/brother-in-law's younger brother. We started dating and got engaged young. Brother-in-law freaked out and told husband he could do better than me, that he was ruining his life by marrying me, he was going to end up divorced, etc. Fast forward 9 to 10 years, husband and I have master's degrees, are happily married, 2 kids, etc. After almost zero contact during the college years as we were in different states, brother-in-law and his wife moved to our city while he is doing his medical residency. Not only that, they move in across the street because they like our type of house better than any of the other ones they look at. So family dinners with my parents-in-law and them become a regular thing. They end up having a kid, so now we do cousin get-togethers, etc. Brother-in-law and I rarely ever directly speak to each other. We mostly just inhabit the same space and are cordial. No one ever brings up the past. After a disagreement with brother-in-law's wife a couple months ago, she blew up and said it's like I don't even consider my brother-in-law family, and she thought I had gotten over my dislike of him. I told her I absolutely did not consider him family, and that's never been a secret. She hasn't spoken to me since, and it's causing contention with the parents-in-law who want us to be one big happy family. Pretty much everyone thinks that the bullying was a long time ago and I need to get over it, especially because his family. I contend that I don't need to, and that being cordial to him is fine, and the best it's going to get. Am I the a-hole for still holding a grudge and not considering brother-in-law family? Not the a-hole. Has he ever apologized for how he treated you in middle school? That's how the reconciliation process starts, not by you letting it go. No. Many years ago when he was still just dating his wife, she told me that he told her some of the stuff he would tease me with, but he was never going to apologize for what he did. Then no, not an a-hole. He hasn't grown up. He's still a bully. Brother-in-law freaked out, told husband he could do better than me. He sounds like such a charmer. Not an a-hole. You are being polite to him, which frankly is graceful in the circumstances. If he had apologized to you of his own initiative, and if he had seemed genuinely contrite, then it might have been time to try to forget the past, since kids are a-holes. But not only has he not apologized, he still regards you as less than him. So you were absolutely not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. But why did you marry his brother? The info that his older brother was my abuser would have sent me running for the hills. I married him because he's a wonderful person and nothing like his brother. I struggle to believe they grew up in the same household. We were also friends before I even knew who his brother was. Would it have been better to drop him and refuse to have anything to do with him once I found out who his brother was? I know if someone suddenly stopped being friends with me just because they found out my sister was a jerk, I would feel that's unfair. Now, for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to get over the fact that my parents call our daughter by a nickname? My husband and I have an 8-month-old daughter named Karina. We loved the name Karina from the get-go and decided on it before she was even conceived. Important context, my husband is white and I'm Punjabi. I'm the only one of my siblings and cousins to have married a white person. My family's fine with it, but it's definitely a noteworthy thing because I'm the only one. This cousin is tall, this cousin loves to go hiking, this cousin married a white guy. Lol. My parents fawn over my husband and my sister's husband because in Punjabi culture, it's normal to flatter your daughter's husband. I guess in the olden days it was to make sure she didn't get returned to original owner. So my husband has always had a really positive relationship with my parents. When our daughter was born, immediately my family noted that Karina sounds close to the Punjabi name Kiran, so they jokingly called her Kiran and it stuck right away. It's not a joke anymore. They say it so naturally that it's legit her name to them. I never thought anything of it. All of my nieces/nephews have Punjabi names that we say with a Punjabi accent even when we were speaking in English. Everyone on my side calls her Kiran exclusively. My husband noted a few months ago that he doesn't like it, but I told him I don't think it's a biggie. He said we named her Karina, and I said okay, that's what 90% of the people in her life will call her. It's not like it's gonna cause some identity crisis. Yesterday, when my mom was visiting, my husband randomly says, I'm tired of you calling her by another name. She is our child, not yours. You need to respect that if you want to see her. If any of you are Punjabi or from another family-oriented ethnicity, you know that speaking to a parent figure like this is, oh my god, no. Like WTF. Stunned silence. My mom left immediately. She told my dad and he was pissed. He told my brothers and they were damn near seeing red. Again, for Punjabis, someone speaking like that to your mom is the epitome of fighting words. I told my husband 2 things. 1, he needs to get over the nickname. It's not that deep. It's not gonna cause an identity crisis and there's no damn control to fight over. My parents see our daughter maybe twice a week and just to play and spoil her, aka normal grandparent stuff. 2, he can never, ever speak to my parents like that. Any issue with them needs to go through me. I think we can salvage things from here, but if he ever said something like this again and it got back to my siblings, things would go south real quick. He is mad that I'm not defending him or taking his side. I've listened as he explained her birth name is Karina, that is her identity. We can't let other people change her name, and I legit don't see a valid point. Our daughter was lucky enough to have a huge family that want to spoil her. Why mess with that? You're the a-hole. Imagine if this was the other way around. If you have given her an Indian name and your husband's family would constantly westernize it and refuse to call her with the original name, all hell would break loose. Racist would be heard in every sentence. How he doesn't respect your culture, yada yada yada. Well, that's exactly what you do. You also said your husband had to go through you and not speak to your parents like this. He actually did, and you dismissed him. You are the a-hole again and again. They also said that he had brought it up to her, and the grandmother is something that bothered him before and everyone ignored him. Exactly. I don't know why she chose her husband if he is always going to come second. You're the a-hole. Your husband is raising a child. Concerned just because it sounds the same, it is not the same. You are saying he doesn't have the right to express discomfort over a nickname they chose because they think it's close enough. Newsflash, this man is the father of the child you made together. He does have the right to say something about it, and he doesn't have to go through you to talk to them. You don't even describe what the 2 names mean. After reading all the comments, I'm going with you're the a-hole. Because you don't seem to get that it's not just your child. Your husband is fully allowed to have an opinion and is allowed to voice that opinion. Any issue with them needs to go through me. Except he shared his issue with you and you did nothing. Because you don't think it's a biggie. But he does, and he's allowed to. You want him to respect you and your family and their culture, but you aren't respecting him because it's a white person thing, I guess. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for not being a team player within my family so my siblings can have the best? My parents resent me for being born. They were 19 when they had me, and I ruined their plans for college and their lives. They kept me, but they told me the heat of the moment when I asked too much from them that they have expressed their resentment for me. My parents had my brothers and sisters starting when I was 8. Now I'm 17 and they have 5 kids, me included. They love my siblings, and they go above and beyond for them. Always have. And they expect me to not only be okay with that, but they want me to also go above and beyond for them. They have told me I'm not a team player, that I am not a good sister, and that I am not doing what I should as the oldest. I work and go to school. I babysit as a side gig too. I have money that I save, but I never spend it on my siblings, and it drives my parents crazy. I have been paying for my own food for the last 2 years, and I don't really interact with anyone. It came to a head about a week ago when my 7-year-old sister wanted a specific Halloween costume after she was teased for the one my parents bought her. My parents couldn't afford a new one and asked me to buy her whatever she wanted. I said no. My sister ended up asking me herself because mom and dad couldn't. And when I said no again, my parents blew a fuse and said I wasn't being a team player and I should want my siblings to have the best. They said I should love my siblings enough to make their lives the best possible, and that I should stop being selfish and immature. I told them they should have been better parents and created a family instead of making me the outsider. And that is not my job to ensure their favorite children get the life they never wanted to provide for me. They said it's not their fault they didn't want to have me. I told them it wasn't mine either, that I had no say in being born or being kept. I said I do have a say in what happens when I turn 18, and to hell with them because I was not going to keep being punished for my birth. My siblings heard the fight and I can see they're upset that I'm not more loving and invested in them. I guess that's why I ask, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole, not in the slightest. You were not responsible for your birth. They were. It's not fair for them to consistently punish you for not acting as a third parent to their subsequent offspring. Parentification at its finest. It needed to be said. What your sibling heard was collateral damage from the truth. It would have come out one way or another. At least they found out and can adjust their expectations. It seems like the parents are growing increasingly resentful that Opie's getting to the age they were when they had Opie, and yet doesn't have to sacrifice her life for a kid, so they're trying to make Opie do exactly that. Not a home. They are being hypocrites. They resent you for ruining their lives, but they had 4 other kids aside from you, and they seem to be happy to have these other kids. If they willingly had other kids, then they can't have anything against you. They weren't a team player when not including you in the family. They were expecting you to use your hard-earned money to pay for something they want, since they couldn't get their lives together. I'm so sorry your biological parents treat you like some outsider of a benefactor and servant, who's supposed to serve and provide for their family. They are wrong, period. You're not a parent and don't deserve to be expected to be one. They expect gratitude for 17 years of mistreatment, but you are not obligated to validate their unjust demands and insane delusions. Don't let them guilt you into sacrificing yourself. Your parents scapegoated you for their poor decisions, which is a truly disgusting thing of them to have done. I do have sympathy for the younger kids as they seem to be caught in the middle of this, and as a result are missing out on an older sibling and all the cool benefits that can come along with that. I hope you should get the hell out of that situation as soon as humanly possible, but should also try to connect with her siblings. Just as Opie had no choice, neither did they. As long as the children aren't entitled or treat Opie any differently, they are their own persons and may want a totally different and far more positive relationship. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not giving my adopted parents the money they needed I got from my dad's parents? So I always had a great relationship with my parents. I was adopted at birth and told when I was a toddler. Everything was fine until I turned 16/17. My parents were both in their late 30s and decided it wasn't too late, and that with the advance of fertility technology in the years, it is possible they could still have a biological baby. I was a bit hurt they wanted a biological child so badly, especially after years and years. and told them they should foster, but they said no. They wanted another try. A lot of their word choices hurt me. I'm now 23. They have been trying for a baby using IVF and other methods to no avail. My mother is now 46. Not trying to be ageist or anything, but it can be hard to conceive even with fertility treatment. When my parents, who went from being doting and loving to now contacting me twice a month since I moved out at 21, invited me over for dinner, I was so happy, got ready and everything, and drove an hour and a half away. To my surprise, the dinner was just an excuse for my parents to ask me if I could carry one of their last embryos for them, and that they would help me pay off my student loans. I was so offended and felt like an incubator. They barely speak to me, and they only invited me to ask me that 10 minutes into it. I left their house in tears. Sadly, just a week later, my grandfather, Dad's dad, passed away. After the funeral, I told my grandma why I wasn't talking to my parents at the service since we were always close, and she was so shocked at what they asked me. She told me she'd give me the money they promised to my dad from my grandfather's insurance to pay off my loans. When my parents found out, they've been texting me begging me to give them just a portion of the money for their treatments. They wouldn't even need me and they'd hire a surrogate and that they were sorry. I said no, and now they've been calling me the biggest a-hole and saying I'm being greedy. Even some families say I'm being too hard by not giving them anything. Haven't even gotten the money yet, and me and my grandma are being painted out as the major a-holes. Are we? I only have money left over I pay my loans, but they aren't much. It has been their dream for years, and I'm overreacting by the request. I'm so sorry your parents are being like this. You did nothing wrong. They have no claim to your body like that. Being a surrogate for family is something you should do because you want to, not because they're holding money over your head. Now that I'm getting the money, they're saying it's not about that they asked me to carry their baby. I'm just being selfish because I want to be the only child. Even though that's not why I just feel hurt, they'd ask me that like I'm not their daughter. It's cemented that they don't see me as their daughter anymore. They're begging my grandma to give me only exact enough for my loans, and giving them the rest like they were promised. I feel bad because my mom was crying about it and she said she regrets asking me, but I feel like she's just saying that because she didn't think my grandma would take the money back. I don't know. I'm conflicted. Don't feel bad, hon. I am appalled at how they treated you, and they should be ashamed of themselves. You don't owe them anything, and good on grandma for recognizing how despicable their behavior has been. They don't deserve a baby after how they treated you. She regrets it because she's not getting what she wants anymore. It doesn't sound like the apologies were coming in when it was just about your hurt feelings. She's 46. However much I get her dream, it is time to call it quits. They got so obsessed they forgot they already had a daughter and neglected you. Now they're trying to use you as an incubator and cash cow for their shriveled up dreams. Anti-A, anti-A, anti-A. The selfishness is off the charts here. With a mother at 46, that kid would be almost certain to have some form of permanent health issues or disabilities. Wow. I'm curious as to how they would have paid off your loans if they're crying out for money now. Sounds like something they would have backtracked on, given their behavior. I'm sorry that you're going through this. Your grandma sounds like a great lady. Keep her close and mute the negativity. Their reproductive stuff is not your fault, your issue or your responsibility. Good luck. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my daughters take my friend's daughter on their trip? My 46 female twin daughters, 21 female Tori and Tammy, are both in college and they're planning to do a 2-week trip to Italy, and I'm paying everything as a birthday gift. My best friend Diane has a daughter, 18 female Lori, and she has been worried because Lori has no friends. My daughters and Lori used to be closer when they were little, but grew apart when they became teenagers. Diane asked me if my daughters could try to include Lori in their social lives so she isn't lonely all the time. I called Tammy about this, and she felt bad about Lori, so she has been talking more to her since. They invited Lori to their dorm one time and go out with her a few times. I thought that the next step was to invite Lori to the trip to Italy. First, I talked with Diane about it and she agreed. She said that Lori has been happier since she started seeing my daughters again. Diane said that if my daughters agreed, she would pay for Lori to go to Italy with them. But when I talked to them, they were not happy with the idea. They say that Lori is too childish and would prevent them from having more adult fun in Italy. I think they are being really selfish and mean. Also ungrateful to me, considering I'm paying for everything. We have been arguing, and I more or less said that Lori is going with them, even if they don't want to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. You're the a-hole. Your daughters are grown-up young ladies. We shouldn't be making playdates for them anymore. They might enjoy Lori's company for dinner or an outing, but they don't want to spend 2 weeks with her. You are giving a gift with strings attached, which is not a nice thing to do. Heck, I have some fantastic friends that I'm close to but I'm not interested in traveling with. Our respective personalities wouldn't make us good travel buddies, and that's okay. It doesn't mean we're not good friends. Can we also focus on there maybe being a real reason this girl doesn't have any friends? I guess it's her copter mom. Probably micromanaged her friend group so intensely that Lori has no clue how to make her own friends. Mom, you're the a-hole. I appreciate your kind mom's heart that feels for that 18-year-old, but your daughters are 21, and there's a big difference in those 3 years. It's not ungrateful at all. It's a gift you chose to give them. They didn't ask for it. Why should they have to accommodate someone else on their trip and be responsible for her? Lori has no friends, but it isn't your daughter's responsibility to make up for that. Please let them go on a trip for their birthday by themselves. It's not fair. Lori can learn to make her own friends. Those girls have already done as you asked and included her in their regular social lives. Let them go to Italy. This right here. Let your daughters have their time together and don't force them to bring someone along they don't particularly want to. If you do, they'll just end up resenting you every time they remember the trip. The biggest mistake you made was to talk with Diane about Lori going before you spoke to your daughters. General rule, always clear this kind of thing first with the folk who are impacted most if it goes through, and last with the folks who are impacted most if it doesn't go through. This way, if your twins reject the idea, like they have, then Lori doesn't have any hopes built up that get dashed. I just hope Diane ever told Lori about it, otherwise this will crush her. What's worse is that Lori will blame Tori and Tammy, and this will drive a wedge between them and their relationship. Hell, it's a no-win, even if you do end up forcing Lori to go to Italy with Tori and Tammy. Lori isn't stupid, she'll realize that she isn't wanted there. All forcing her to go will do is breed more resentment. Tori and Tammy versus Lori for her intruding on what should have been a sister's trip, and Lori versus Tori and Tammy for not wanting her there. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not visiting my parents when my sister is around with her kid? I, 25 female, have 2 sisters, 28 female and 31 female. My oldest sister has a kid. I'm also planning on having kids in the future, and I love kids, but sometimes I get exhausted around them. I love my own kid, and I'm hoping to be the best mother ever, but I can't stand the expectation that I have to constantly like other people's kids and always be willing to care for them no matter what. Let's call the middle sister Kate and the oldest Jenny. Jenny has totally changed since having a kid. She used to want to stay child-free, but after an unplanned pregnancy, she decided to keep the kid, and she is now a stay-at-home mom. But since then, she's not the greatest person. She expects everyone to be her maid and her kid's babysitter. When she's around, she expects everyone to be 100% focused on her kid, and if you're not, she'll shame you for being a child hater. She's unbearable. My sister Kate has always been a people pleaser, and she does everything to seem like the good sister and aunt, even if it means putting her own needs aside. That's her choice, and I don't necessarily mind, but I'm not like that. I play with a kid, care for the kid, but I can't always be running behind a kid at all times. Whenever my sister is visiting my house, she's never checking her kid and expects everyone else to do so. Same thing when she visits my parents. The last time she visited my place, her kid broke a vintage porcelain doll my fiancé had gifted me, which used to belong to his grandma. It was very sentimental. And when my sister barely reacted to the kid breaking my doll, she also said I'm not a kid to be sad over a fricking doll and told me to get over it. She blamed me for not watching her kid, and if I had watched her, she wouldn't have broken my doll. I told her that unless she starts caring for her own kid, she won't be allowed in my house. A few days later, I had visited my parents. Jenny was there and so was Kate. Kate was always making comments about how heartless I am because I don't pay attention to the kid. She accused me of hating the kid and claimed she's the better aunt. Jenny laughed with Kate about it. They then started making fun of me for being sad about the doll. I said it's not just about the doll, but about the expectations she puts on other people. My parents said my sister Kate sided with Jenny and said I should be grateful she's warming me up just in time to also be a mom. I said I've had enough of being bullied into watching her kid. And while I love the kid, I won't visit my parents whenever Jenny's around because I feel exhausted both physically and emotionally when the mocking takes place. They said I'm being dramatic and I should get over myself. They claim I'm also a child hater if I refuse to watch and play with the kid all the time. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your family sounds exhausting. I've never understood why people think they don't need to supervise their own kids just because there are other adults in the same area/house. Her kids are her responsibility. Even if someone else is playing with their child, it's still up to the parents to monitor their behavior and correct them and generally meet their needs, like food and hydration and toileting needs, etc. I'm exhausted because I'm blamed for not being behind her kid 24/7. When I dare have my own interests and life, I'm accused of not loving her kid. They even say that to the kid that Aunt X doesn't love you as much Aunt Kate loves you more, which is ridiculous. They're conditioning the kid to see me as someone who doesn't love her. Yes, refuse to be around your sister, who is entitled and a bully. If your parents or other sister give you crap when you visit, calmly say you refuse to be manipulated and leave. No drama, yelling or flouncing out the door. Just calmly say, okay, gotta go, and do it. Every single time. If they still won't stop, even knowing you'll leave when they start up, they've demonstrated that they don't value you as a person, only someone to push around. Then you'll have no qualms at going low contact. I'm sorry, but your family sounds awful. You should be grateful she's warming you up. No. Her kid, her responsibility. It would be different if she specifically asked you to watch her kid for a certain period of time, like if she had to run an errand. But she just can't assume everyone in eyesight is now automatically a babysitter, and she can relax and ignore the child. Not stay home for setting and enforcing boundaries. She and my parents shame me for not keeping my eye on kid 24/7 whenever I'm around my sister. They tell the kid that I don't love her. My sister doesn't work and she's responsible for her house and her kid, yet expects everyone else to do the work for her. She only goes out for coffee and drinks with her friends and expects my mom to babysit my niece all the time. And my mom also cleans my sister's house and cooks for her and her husband. My sister and her husband do nothing to care for their own house and family.